It takes time to do a government proposal. You just put all this effort in to put together this 30 to 40 page package proposal, and you get disqualified for one small little nuance about it. That's very, very tough. It's a resource that you got to put behind it and make sure it's right. Some of those opportunities take months before you actually get that return.
You spent years building a prestigious reputation in a high-stakes market, only to realize the biggest contracts are actually the ones holding you back. Our guest today faced this exact leadership crisis that threatened to shut down his entire firm if he didn't find a way to pay back a massive debt to his partners. He made a counterintuitive move to stop chasing gigantic proposals that define his industry and instead focus on much smaller, higher profit niches. This single shift didn't just save his office, it tripled his revenue and turned one-time tax fixes into $25,000 transactions and lifelong customers. Welcome to today's episode of Your Business Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Shapiro, author of Your Business Growth Playbook, and my guest today is Albert Butler. Albert, welcome to the show.
Jeremy, wow, that's an amazing introduction. I hope I can back it up. And I'll tell you, the resonating stories that I'm ready to share with your audience, I hope that everyone get a chance to find something, find a nugget, find a little piece to put in their toolkit and use it for their own business success.
You know, it's funny you say that. Before I kick off mastermind meetings, I always have a slide with a big picture of a gold nugget. And I'm like, your job here isn't to find every single moment or every single thing said to be the most eye-opening, amazing. You're looking for those few gold nuggets that make the biggest difference. So we set that reticular activating system, we engage it, and we're looking for those. We're going to find them. So Albert, let's go back to the beginning. What drew you into this whole world of accounting and executive leadership? How did you get there from where you started out?
Major journey. And I'm going to start with the end, at least the current state, and we'll work our way backwards. As I've accumulated this skill set and this love and this passion for the industry, I've learned one try and true thing, that accounting is truly the heartbeat of business. But not just a heartbeat, it's also the key of personal finance success, which is I would tell you, the foundational piece of why I do what I do. And it helps me connect with individuals from the largest of public companies to the smallest of mom and pop shops to get that foundation set. So my runway, my challenges, I began truly coming out of college with an accounting degree, walk into a public accounting firm, not understanding the industries that I was walking into and just being in extreme culture shock. But that culture shock turned into me being a sponge to learning. You know, my mother would always tell me, she said, hey, son, just think about it. You're still in school. Learn every day, challenge yourself every day, and you're going to cultivate a skill set that one day you're going to look back and you're going to be standing on top of a mountain. Well, Jeremy, I'm standing on that mountain, and I'd like to give back so much so the next crop that's coming up can stand on the same mountain.
I love that. Now, specialization-wise, we love talking about niches. You found yourself in this world of accounting working with government contracts. What was that all about? Why were you guys in that space, and what's that industry like?
Not my genesis, but became my present. I joined a firm who cut their teeth and just learned that the government space was just a wealth of opportunity. And they cultivated a skill set to nail these proposals. And I was actually joining the firm from, again, a large public company space. Well, all of my true experiences was in the healthcare space, construction space, financial services space. I know those industries sound like a little bit extremely diverse, but that's just what I did for a large majority of my career. And when I joined the firm where I'm at now, they had so much knowledge to give in the governmental space. And again, became a sponge, just jumped into it, tried to cultivate it, tried to make it my own. I'll tell you that going through the government space of doing audits from that perspective and doing consulting engagements is a lot different. Lot different. Lot more risk, especially when you're dealing with a municipality from a city perspective. So a lot more risk and a lot more understanding of where the risk avenues lie. But the firm has a system in place that makes it a win overall. So I've enjoyed that ride, but at the same time, I wanted to put my own spin to what we do. And that's where I jumped in to add more pieces to that overall business portfolio to give back to the community that we're in.
So the government contracts, from my understanding, are like these gigantic proposals that take so much energy and effort to put together. And that's like the world you stepped into. Are those highly profitable? Are those what you build the business on? Is that where you wanted the firm to be focusing on?
Not my skill set. So since it was not my skill set, I still wanted to bring my spin to the practice. But I will say that, are they highly profitable? They can be. Are they highly regulated? Definitely. Definitely. And they're very competitive. Because most of those all the government contracts are public record, and any firm or any vendor who has the ability to propose can propose. So it's very competitive to get those types of jobs, that's why that's really great that this firm that I'm with now had that system in place to do that and was very successful in doing it. But again, I want to put my spin on things, and I think that's kind of where we are today.
Nice. So you were seeing growth even within the niche you stepped into, right? Without picking it. And you hit like the $1 million mark. What was it like as you were growing the business and finding yourselves hitting sort of these new milestones as an office?
Those milestones change the trajectory of mindset. And you have the expectations of what your client is going to get goes to another level. And I always advocate wholeheartedly to all my staff and to anyone who's willing to listen that the client experience is the most important thing. You can do the work and you're going to be diligent about doing the work, but everybody can do that if they have the certain skill set to even propose, to even walk through the door. But the client experience, the relationship building, the caretaking, the small things that don't show up every day. Those are the things that matter most to any and all clients, because you want them to walk in the door and have a set of confidence in you that builds a level of trust. And that trust is going to turn into a credibility relationship that's going to be built, that they can call you when things are not are concerning, or they're going to call you when they're about to do a certain transaction, or they're going to call you first. And that's what I want to advocate to all my clients. Call me first so we can talk about it. And if we talk about it up front, then we can make sure it's planned out in a way that's going to be beneficial for everybody.
Nice. Now, you didn't build this on your own. You had partners in this office as well. Yeah. So I know there's an important inflection point here where not all your partners agree to some of the changes and ideas that you had. Like, what was that like as you found those points of disagreement in terms of vision of what you wanted this the firm to become?
Partnership is such a wonderful way of doing business because it does give you your own governance check that's outside of you. There's going to be certain individuals that might want to do a certain thing and go a certain direction, but collectively, a vote has to take place. You're not on an island. You just can't make a decision to commit the firm as a whole to go a certain direction. You have to make sure that you can get the majority vote to go forward. And what's special about getting a majority vote, once you do, and you do move forward, we're collectively together every step of the way. And even those that decide to vote against what might be proposed, we still have an agreement that we're all going to go this direction. So we're all in this together. And I love that about my firm. It's something that you just don't find that everywhere, when you can actually work together with a group of individuals that, although might disagree, can come together with a like mind to execute and to be successful.
Nice. So walk us through what it meant for the office when you realized there were some differences there and you had a partner walk out. How did that affect the company?
When you lose a partner at a smaller firm, especially, it can be a little devastating because you lose a partner. Sometimes you're going to lose clients right along with that partner because they did build that relationship. And that takes a level set of budgeting. Just like if you think of your household budget, the office budget, the firm budget, the business budget, you have to step back and say, hey, that revenue generator just left. So how are you going to cultivate a way that can continue that level of service to your current clients, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you can level up your clients, because you did actually have to, saw some clients walk out the door. Well, in a leveling up process, that is a shift of business approach for business development. that you have to make sure that you can propose on different opportunities, meet clients where they are, explain to them where their current state actually is, and then give them a proper future state of where to go. And then the functionality of the current to the future is where we come in at to help them get there. I love that piece because that's when you see a client that really, really puts their shoulders down and appreciates the relationship, when you can give that function to something that didn't have before.
Now, with a partnership change, though, do you need to buy them out? Is there, financial change that happens there? Like, does the team change over as well? Like, walk me through what that looks like.
Multiple things can happen, less so much on the team aspect of it from a staffing perspective, but more so there's a compensation package for all of us. It is a business. You're an entrepreneur. As a partner, you actually own a piece of the business. So yes, there is a buyout that takes place. And normally the way it works is that every partner has a certain set of units. Those units are valued based off the equity of the actual partnership itself. And when you decide you leave, that contract agreement takes place where those units are sold back to the firm. And that selling of those units really is kind of the partner's parachute, I would say. And then those units are offered to the existing partners on first refusal, or you bring in a new partner if timing is just right to do that.
Now, is the firm totally fine with those kinds of changes, or do they, have some expectations for how the office performs, even with partnership changes?
It's business. It's business. Of course, everybody wants everything to be the same. But reality's set in that all of us are going to pull our bootstraps up and go make it happen the best way you possibly can. Going to market is tough. Jeremy, I'll tell you, going to market is very tough. No matter what kind of business you're actually in, going to market in a way that you got to make sure that your client base, your ideal customer persona, the people that really want your services, really understands the value that you bring and understand how you can help them continue to grow. So that's the consistent marching orders across the board. Every one of us has a set amount of I would call client sales, if you will, that you want to make sure that you can actually pull in. But at the same time, execution, quality, deliverable, timely deliverable, all has to come into play. And that's why I go back to that client experience that really makes it make sense. 100%, I'll tell you that I'm a big advocate that you can do your best job on any engagement that you're working on, and you can still lose a client. You have absolutely nothing to do with the economics that's going on inside that client endeavor as well, too, because sometimes they change for various different reasons that you have no control of, even if you do the best job ever. If you do a crappy job, you're definitely going to lose a client. So always do your best effort. Always do your best, and then give them what they ask for, and make sure the scope is sound. And people take care of people who take care of them. That's what I believe in.
Are you enjoying this episode? Make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. That'll help you get more episodes automatically as soon as they come out. So hit that subscribe button right now. And if you have a minute, leave a quick rating and review. That helps support the show. Yeah, I've seen that time and time again in businesses. Those relationships are so key. So talk to us about like sort of the turning point of this. You guys had a partner walk. You had now a debt to pay down to cover that, and a change in the kinds of contracts you guys were going after. Was this a matter of just hustling harder and doing the same thing and going after more government contracts, or did it come down to some other shifts you had to make to grow the business and, take care of these new obligations?
Jeremy's reflection. And based on that reflection of where you actually are as a business, as an office, as a skill set, as a talent, even from a staffing pool, you have to make an assessment on how can I grow another part of the business? That's always on the table. It's always on the table. Where are those opportunities that are the true, not even low-hanging fruit, it could be high-hanging fruit that you just never really tapped into? And I think that's where a constant level of evolution takes place with the professional. So I'm always wanting to find opportunities in the market where there's a pain. And that pain is something that you can actually fill in that gap for based on your skill set, especially from a financial perspective. When I say financial, from accounting and finance, because that area is so critical to every single business, that is needed in every single business. If you don't understand the finances of the business, don't understand the accounting, don't understand the equilibrium, don't understand the equivalent exchange of the cycles that take place, how can you make decisions? How can you have clarity? And without clarity, you're stuck trying to make decisions in the blind, and randomization takes place. You might get lucky, you might not. You can't tell your story the right way if you don't know your numbers. So I find that pain is always going to be needed, and having that shift inside my office of we're full service firm. We still provide tax prep. We provide tax strategy, business consulting. We still do compilations, reviews, and audits. We still do other consulting engagements for business environments. But what bucket are we going to fall into that really has the opportunity that is out there the best? And we made a shift. We made a pretty significant shift to give clients from a small business perspective what they really needed. Someone to actually they can turn to feel that strain and solve that problem for them. And that's what we stepped in at.
So talking of numbers, right? We both love talking these, numbers of business. When we look at, for example, the large government contracts, you put a lot of time, resource, energy, and so forth into even being considered, let alone landing the deal. And then you've got to look at your profitability of the deal if you win it. How does that compare to sort of other markets you could be in? Like, was the ROI there for these bigger contracts?
I will tell you that it's a balancing from a skill set perspective. My background, again, is providing those levels of services that are not so much directly toward the government contract space, more so in I would tell you the public company or small business, or even down to that founder entrepreneur space. So it's all about skill set and what you can have individuals get comfortable on. And you're right with this one. It takes time to do a government proposal. It takes a lot of effort. Every T has to be crossed. Every I has to be dotted. And any aspect of that, you'll get disqualified quickly. And you just put all this effort in to put together this 30 to 40 page package proposal, and you get disqualified for one small little nuance about it. That's very, very tough. It's very, very tough with the resources that you got to put behind it and make sure it's right. And having a smaller, I would say a smaller office, we have to look at those from a collective perspective with the other offices as well too, to make sure that we're consistent on the process of sending out those proposals, because you don't want to be eliminated by something small and insignificant like that. But it does still take time as compared to other opportunities where the proposal process is a little bit more of a handshake, or a little bit more of a conversation over the phone, or a little bit more feeling a pain or strain that a client might have. And it makes it a little bit more straightforward to get a close on an actual new client from that regard.
Yeah. Now, when we look at ROI, like one of the important numbers we've got to figure out there is that I part, return on investment, right? In business parlance, we talk about our customer acquisition cost, or CAC, right? The cost for you to have acquired that customer. So when you shifted out of that government space more to these individual clients where you've had a lot more experience sort of even outside of the firm, what did that change in customer acquisition cost look like? Timeline from talking to a prospect to having a new customer, like just compare and contrast those for us.
I like to look at it from this perspective of what I call order to cash. And this is from every business has this flow that takes place, process flow. From the time that you have what I would call a soft lead to a real hard lead, from actual contract that's signed for backlog perspective, to the time that cash from the first invoice you send out the door and get paid for that. What does that window looks like? And 100%, I will tell you that it is ramped up a lot faster with the less red tape of the client experience that you have to go through. Now, some will say that's a volume gain. Well, I will tell you that it can be looked at as a volume gain, but it's also can be looked at as a quality of client gain, where you're able to give a high net worth individual who is a founder, who doesn't have the resources to think about the accounting side of things, and you can give them and fill that gap for them, and they will going to compensate you very, very heavily for that because you took a problem away from them. That time window is ramped up extremely, extremely fast as compared to some of the larger engagements that, you just, I 100% tell you some of those opportunities take months before you actually get that return back on investment as compared to some of the smaller ones that can take weeks.
This reminds me so much of a client I was working with that historically, when someone wanted to engage with them, they would have to schedule an appointment with sales. They get a proposal. They'd review the proposal. It was this whole long classic like enterprise sales cycle. And as we were rebuilding, rebranding, relaunching the product, one of the things that I was pushing for is like, can we have a self-service onboarding? Can someone just click, sign up, get the trial, enter a credit card, generate a PO, whatever it is, and just get going? And when we put that in place, what we found is even larger enterprise customers are often able to self-onboard, put a credit card in, and you reduce your timeline to onboarding someone drastically. And now you're not chasing for contracts and appointments and having this drawn out sales cycle. You condense that all down. And so that goes to sort of this opportunity cost as well. And that timeline from that cash outlay to acquire a customer like you're talking about to actually onboarding them. So I love that. One of the differences you saw there, to highlight a gold nugget for our listeners, is if you can shorten that timeline up, there's a lot of value in that to the business and the close rates and so much more.
Think about it, Jeremy. We actually make things more difficult for ourselves because we put more processes in place to create your own hurdles that your clients really don't even want you to have. They want to do the business. So that's a real major piece that you're right. Speed that time up and your ROI and everything will go up. And that's just perfect for any business that want to grow.
So implementation, right? You've got an idea for, we want to change our focus for who our ideal customer profile, our ICP, is and what that avatar looks like, what our offerings are. You had an office and a team sort of used to doing one kind of business, one kind of contract, everything else, and you were shifting that up. How did you train up your team on the different kind of work you were going to be doing and the different size clients to be working with and the different, onboarding process? Like, how did you operationalize that?
So I'll tell you that it is, we work in silos. I'll say it this way. We have our tax department, we have our audit department, and we have a consulting group. And those audit and consulting, they're still moving and shaking. They still have client work they have to do. But the underserved area was our tax department. And that area was where I wanted to put more effort into because I saw that low-hanging fruit for tax strategy, or the new term on the street, the fractional CFO role that's out there now, and put more energy behind that and create the proper processes in place to go to market and solve that pain. So moving individuals from who've been doing this for some time to add on the actual little toolkit piece of, hey, you know what? You're not just going to be preparing anymore. You're actually going to be doing a little more strategy conversations in here. And that's just some training and kind of some dusting the cobwebs off a little bit as well too, to be able to give individuals the runway that they need to give back to clients. So actually not as difficult as you might think it was, because accounting, again, is accounting. It's across the board. But the client service, I'll say it again, the client service, the actual deliverable, the actual give, the actual need of feeling that strength that the client has, that's a little bit of a better touch point. I'll tell you this too. Once you get the books and records solid, we are still, I'm an auditor at heart. I'm still going to ask the questions that you might not see across the board, that I got more time to lift up the hood and ask those special little questions that, some entrepreneurs just might not have the opportunity to even think about. I'm going to bring it to the table. So that's an additional added benefit from the skill set that everyone actually has that really solves a pain for entrepreneurs so they can actually develop and grow.
Yeah, I love that you're touching on the entrepreneurs piece here, because you have a term I love that I want to ask you more about. And that is, you talk about the heartbeat of a business and a heartbeat of the business's systems. What does that mean when we talk about accounting as the heartbeat?
I have a framework that I share with all my entrepreneurs. There's 5 muscles of enterprise. Number 1 is leadership. Number 2, operations. 3, sales. 4, IT infrastructure. And 5, accounting, the heartbeat of it all. And the reason why I say it's the heartbeat of it all, if you think about a business, if you think about it as an entity, the head of that entity is the C-suite. That's where all the ideas, the vision, the mission, and all those things are coming from. And that idea, mission, and vision is going to go down to the production department. And production is going to produce whatever they want, need to produce. And once it's produced, it goes back up to the sales department. Sales is going to go out there and they're going to take it to the market, and they're going to sell it. They're going to do it, and they're going to send it back in to get it back up to the head to say, how did we do? But there's something in the middle. There's something that drives the push and the pull, the equilibrium of the transaction and the cycles. It's accounting. In the middle sits accounting. because every idea, every thought is going to go through the accounting department. Every development, every growth, every cost structure is going to go through the accounting department. Every unit that's sold, every unit every unit that comes back to be sold is going to come back to the accounting department. So, and all financial reporting, all the data, all the information is going to come out of the accounting department. So when you step back and look at it, accounting sits in the middle as truly the heartbeat. And you have to monitor that heartbeat on a continual basis, because if you don't, you could have a heart attack. And that's the last thing any business wants, is to have that heart attack when they don't have the numbers, they don't have the clarity, and they can't make the decision, and they can't forecast, and they can't tell the world how great they're going to be for what they're trying to sell. So, Jeremy, I'll tell you, accounting, heartbeat, in the middle, 100%.
Yeah, I'd like to say, just given your profession, you're a little biased in this, but you make a compelling argument. And I can see why we talk about, accounting being such an important central piece to this body of a business. So beautiful. All right. So speaking of that, growth, right? You've implemented a lot of the best practices you work on with your clients in your own business as well. And you were able to triple the size of the business by changing up your niche, narrowing in this focus, and working with these individuals on some of the IRS tax issues. You're an auditor at heart on the audits and everything else. What was that like as a business as you got back to that growth that you're after as a business owner and moved towards that 3x point?
Truly is the next level. What's the next level of growth? Because it's stages to it all, Jeremy. When I have this way of going to market and I want to bring it, and then you take it to market and the market receives it. That's so exciting. It's so value adding, and you realize how much you're helping people, which is the one reason that I actually do what I do, because I help actual people, and then see them develop and grow, and they need more of your services, and then they tell more friends, and they tell more colleagues, and they tell others, and you see that development continue to expand. Oh my gosh, it is the biggest euphoria that you can actually feel, that what you're actually doing is making a major impact, not just to your firm or for your staff, but you're making to your community. And that's the real value add. I mean, I'll tell you, I've been doing this for a while. And the one thing that makes me smile every single day is when I see one of my clients put their shoulders down and say, oh, yes. And they have that relief of something that they didn't have before. And I brought it to them and was able to make that solution for them. It's amazing. It's amazing. So 100%, I'll tell you that ramping things up, you're just ready to go to the next level, and you're ready to go to the next, and you want to bring it to even more and expand. And it happens through attrition almost.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that attrition piece, because sometimes we have a service-based business where we have a single transaction, right? We help a client out with an issue, they move on, and that's the end of their relationship. And one of the big strategies we talk about a lot in the book is, what we do to extend that customer lifetime value. And you've really done that in an interesting way by having this whole ecosystem approach that's beyond just the single transaction and creating a customer for life. So tell us more about what you've done in the business to go beyond one transaction with a client.
Let's get under the hood a little bit, Jeremy, that every client that I have, someone asked me one day, he said, "Hey, Albert, who is your ideal customer?" I said, "You are." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Everybody's my ideal customer." He said, "How can that possibly be?" I said, "Well, everyone has to do something every single year called file a 1040. We all have to file it. Now, being as we're American citizens, be it that, we have to pay taxes, and be it that we like street lights and roads, and we like the fire department and the police, we like all those wonderful things, but we have to pay a price for that, and that's okay. But my number, your audience's number, everybody's number is different. And my job is to help you find your number, because yeah, we do have to pay taxes, but you're not required to pay a penny more than what you're supposed to. And in that aspect, you touch everyone, because I'm a big believer in you have to scale yourself first before you can scale your family. And you have to scale your family before you can scale a business. That's extremely important, because a lot of entrepreneurs do it the other way. They want to work on the business. Then they forget about the family. They forget about the family. They forget about themselves. Now your health is bad. Your marriage is bad. You don't know your kids, but your business is going great. Or is it? Because at the end of the day, why do we even do what we do, Jeremy? You know, that's what I come back to my clients with. And this is the connection when you say client for life, because I am not a tax strategist. I am not a business strategist. I'm not even an accounting strategist. I'm a life strategist. When people come and talk to me, we're talking about life. We're talking about how everything we do reverts back to why we're doing it and how we're trying to build a legacy for our family. And my job, my mission is to help my clients build that legacy. And because we're working on building a legacy, it's a relationship that's cultivated year after year after year, because we're coming to do checkpoints quarter after quarter after quarter. And in some cases, month after month after month. It's just that important to make sure that your accounting personally is still in the center for your own home, because you are a CEO at your own house. And to make sure that that piece of it is that heartbeat there is working like it's supposed to. And then we want to make sure the business heartbeat is working as well too, because the business is just an asset. The family is what it's all about. The business is part of your portfolio, but the family is why you get up and you do it. So that's how we make it.
Yeah, that's a question I often ask clients I'm working with, is like the why are you in business in the first place, right? And when you step back and you look at it, it's usually supporting these goals outside of business, and often it comes back to not just the personal goals, but the family and everything else. When you have that clarity on the definition of success, now we can work towards that, because working a 90-hour work week for minimum wage and all the liabilities, on your shoulders doesn't make sense at all. That's not being a business owner. That's being barely self-employed, right? So when we understand how we define these things and what we're doing it all for, then you can start to craft the right business that supports the real goals that you have. And just like you're talking about being a life strategist, that helps put things in perspective. So huge kudos on that. And for listeners, I hope you caught that differentiation. Think about why you create the business in the first place and strategize on the life side, not just the business. So really well said. All right. In your business, you guys changed up this focus, and we now have not just top line revenue growth, you also see some shift as you've changed your niche in your profit margins. What do the changes in profits look like when you're working with individuals at this higher level long-term versus transactionally or with the government?
I will say that there is a ramping up that takes place. I think I kind of mentioned this a little bit before, because I take an individual that has an idea and they want to take that idea to market. But I try to explain to them that you just can't take an idea to market without having a solid team around you to do so. Learning that 5 muscles of enterprise is one piece of it. The second piece of it is building the team for the expertise that are needed to help match up those 5 muscles to help you grow and scale and expand. So I'm going on a journey with you through this process. And as we go on this journey, my role with you expands as well too. So the cost structure that you're going to have means that my cost structure is going to kind of evolve as well too. But the pricing structure that we have is also evolving along the way as well. So those margins are going to go up along the way, because I'm providing such a large amount of value to you that my team is actually providing it as well too. And it gets to a certain point where a lot of it is working so well that becomes on autopilot, and then we can shift and we can expand on a different type of strategy to help expand even more so. So being in a service-related business, a lot of times you see there's a lot of costs up front, but as time goes on, those costs shrink and margins grow. And that's the overall goal.
And what's nice about that math as well is when you understand your customer acquisition cost and you increase your customer lifetime value, you can afford to pay more to acquire a customer and outspend the competition, because you know how you're going to pay that back and really how long that takes. So really big kudos. And for listeners, I want to highlight, an important thing there on the numbers. One of the things that Albert's done in his business is not just triple the top line revenue, but also increase the profitability. Doing either of those is a win. Doing both is a compounding win. So really nicely done.
That's a knocking out the park. But it's funny you say that too. It's a labor of love as well, because I love what I do. And I 100%, I know we're talking about business, we're talking about the numbers, but I do what I do because I truly love what I do. I have a passion for accounting. And when you have a passion for whatever it is that you're working on, there's a light that's going to shine inside of you. I advocate wholeheartedly. Never make decisions based off of money. Always make decisions based off of purpose. And if you are walking in your purpose and you're driving in that purpose, people normally gravitate toward the light that you're shining because of your purpose. And that's the success rate that we really have, because I advocate it, I talk about it, I put it on my shoulder. To a certain point, I wear it. I have a banner in my office that says accounting is the heartbeat of business, that I advocate nonstop. But on the same token, when people talk to me, they realize that, oh, this guy actually likes this stuff. This guy wants to really help and really want to make things as transparently simple as possible that they can possibly be. But that's my passion. And I encourage everyone in your audience to find their passion and walk in that. And 100%, you're going to be more than successful.
Beautiful. So speaking of advice, what's one piece of advice you'd give to a business owner who feels stuck in their business right now? Maybe there's low profit margins, revenues aren't where they want to be. What would you advise to them?
I will tell you that you need to take a look at your team. Do you have the team that you need to be successful as you truly want to be? That's step one. Step two, I would look internally at yourself. Reassess why you're doing what you're doing. Reassess the true whys. And then once you do, you can actually step back and not just be so close to the elephant that you can't see what's right in front of you. Because stepping back and reflecting gives you the opportunity to review yourself and to give you true critical feedback. I tell a lot of people that I have a mantra that I truly believe in. It's called plan, act, review. When you plan what you're doing, it allows you to truly think through, but not think too much, but because you don't want to overplan, because you want to go ahead and act. And that the act part puts whatever you plan into action relatively quickly, so you can get solid feedback in the review stage. Unfortunately, we skip the review stage. A lot of entrepreneurs skip the review phase. And if you are stuck in position right now and you're trying to figure things out, ask yourself, when was the last time I reviewed myself? When was the last time I asked those questions of, am I doing right by me? Am I doing right by my family? And then am I doing right by the business? And then, of course, assess that team.
The self-assessment's interesting. I know many people like to, in January or December, figure out New Year's resolutions and this whole thing. And we know how New Year's resolutions go. What I like to do is not look at a calendar year, but like a personal year. So every year around my birthday is when I sit down and I do my self-assessment and look back at the past year, look forward to the coming years, look at those bigger things I'm working on or I want to do, and really take that time to self-assess and reflect. So I love that advice, Albert. Nicely done. So when you look back now, when you first took over this office, what would you have done differently knowing what you know now?
Oh, wow. Whew. Hire better. I actually have to say that, because a lot of times when you make a bad hire, it does have a ripple effect in what you do. And it's hard to look through a crystal ball to see the type of individuals that you're going to bring on board, if they're going to be able to cut it. What I do in public accounting can be it's a very, very difficult job at times. We do work a lot of hours, and people say they want to do it at first, and then when they get down to it, it's very, very complicated to be able to push through and realize that, hey, sometimes you're going to work a lot of overtime. It's just the way it's nature of the business. We're a deadline-based business. Deadlines, and they're not induced by us. They're induced by the client, because the client experience is so important. So if I was able to go back and do a few things differently, I probably would do a little better hiring.
So often it comes down to the people. All right. In terms of success, right? Sometimes we have accidental success. Other times we figure out a system or a change that allows success to be a repeatable process. What are the specific financial metrics you look at in your business to figure out, are you on track to ensure the success is repeatable versus accidental?
My biggest metric that I look for is client satisfaction. This is going to be a little bit different what others might look at, but client satisfaction and that feedback I get from my clients. So what's my client retention rate and what's my client referral rate? Those two come together as client satisfaction. And I actually take a poll of my clients and say, why do you want to continue to be a client of mine? And they actually think, well, that's actually crazy. Wow. So it's a very powerful question when you pose it that way, and they're going to give you some true solid feedback. And I take the feedback to heart. So that's the piece of it that I think a lot of entrepreneurs actually don't get a chance to get that level of feedback. And that's a very direct question. Client retention and client referral. That's so important. And I get so many times when I just love to get a note to hit the website or in my inbox or just a text. Hey, such and such person said that you was able to help them. This is the situation I'm dealing with. And I was wondering if I can come and consult with you to see if you can help me. Keyword is help. I get so satisfied when I hear that someone has recommended me to come and help someone else. And I take it very, very personally to give that next person that level of service that I gave the previous person, because it keeps on coming back.
Now, I want to highlight for our listeners there a really key piece of what Albert was just saying, and that is proactively seeking data, right? Serving your customers, asking these questions, and the timing and the question as well of like, why are you still doing business with me? I think would terrify some business owners. But if you are able to ask that question, even just being able to ask it, you already know you're doing a lot of things right. Years ago, I did a really cool behind the scenes, backstage tour with Disney. And we got to hang out with like one of the Disney executives who'd been there forever and worked, all across, various parts of the company. And one of the things that I learned during our conversations with him was that Disney sends out surveys to visitors. And you might want to, think about like, when would you send out a survey if you're at Disney? Would you ask them like during their stay, right? Would you ask them like when they get back to the hotel room, right? Do you ask them a week later? Disney sent the survey out about 6 weeks later, because sometime within 4 weeks of your visit, you get a credit card statement in the mail. And you now get to look at that true cost of what this magical lifetime trip really cost your family, all in, all the expenses. And they then ask you after you've taken that hit, because now you have a much more honest answer. Otherwise, you ask someone when they come off a roller coaster, right? Or come back from, meeting the princesses or whatever it is. They're going to be excited and over the moon, and it's the best thing ever. But you get that cooling off period and ask that question like you did about like, why are you still doing business with me? That gets like a really good clear-headed answer. And if the answer is, a wonderful testimonial on a referral, you're doing a lot right. So that is just excellent, Albert.
Here's a sweet spot. Normally when I directly ask the question is not only when we wrap up an engagement, but that's the time also when I want to re-engage you as well too. So that's where the client retention question comes up, because it's time to get re-engaged as well. And if there's anything we can do to make the client experience any better, I want to know. I want to know then. And we can truly deliver on a high level from that perspective, because you don't know what you don't know, especially when you think you're doing a good job. And lo and behold, you might just be missing the boat completely. So that's huge.
Yeah, well said. Before we wrap, I have a few quick rapid fire questions for you. First up, if you were to start all over again from scratch, what one lead source would you go all in on?
I did not embrace social media at first. I would definitely go all in on LinkedIn. That's just the major population of individuals that's on source right now. I would go all in, and I just didn't do it at first.
Nice. I know a lot of people think about their platform as an afterthought versus a forethought. So good. That's the benefit of hindsight. All right. Aside from your book, Life, which we could have a whole separate conversation around. So aside from your book, Life, and of course, your business growth playbook, what are some of your top favorite business books?
Oh, gosh. Principles by Ray Dalio. I've actually just wrapped up reading it probably about 2 or 3 months ago. Great book, talking about the money cycle, how things actually work. And if I would give you any recommendation, the next one would be Notes to My Son by John D. Rockefeller. That's a huge book. I highly recommend reading that to anyone. It's a very easy, straightforward read, and he gives some very solid nuggets in that as well, too.
Right on. Who was one of your unlikeliest mentors?
Unlikeliest mentor. His name was Gary Barban. Gary gave me hell. But I respect Gary. That's what I respect Gary so much. Gary made me work when I was younger in my professional career. We had to work on Super Bowl Sunday, and it just drove a dagger inside of my heart that I had to be up working that late to try to get a project out the door. But he actually helped me understand a whole lot better, being able to push forward and get things done.
Funny how often growth comes from doing the uncomfortable things or stepping out of the comfort zone or doing what we don't want to do. Almost like every time.
The struggle makes you better. Yes.
To recap for our listeners, you moved from a high-pressure corporate environment where a partnership exit nearly closed your doors to a strategic market pivot that traded complex government proposals for high-profit individual advisory, allowing you to triple your revenue and build a sustainable legacy.
Completely. Yes, 100%. And it's something that I highly recommend other professionals consider. It's a huge give back to the community, and one that helps you really connect with people and give them a level of clarity that they never had before.
Beautiful. And Albert, for listeners who want to learn more about you, where should they go right now?
100% albertbutler.com. You can actually look me up and see me there. If not, just Google Albert Butler CPA, and it's going to light up like fire on Google for all the different places I've done podcasts, speaking engagements, and all the above. So I highly recommend it.
Excellent. And you'll, of course, find the both of us active very much so over on the LinkedIn side of things. And so thank you for tuning in to our episode today. Albert, thank you for sharing so much of your journey and your lessons and wisdom with us on how to grow that business, not just on the top line, but also on the profitability side, all in support of making that better life. So thanks for sharing with us.
Thank you, Jeremy. Great platform. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening. Quick reminder, hit that subscribe button right now so you can get more episodes when they come out automatically. And remember to leave that rating and review right now.